Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Diego with my beautiful wife, Karina from Venezuela. And it's December 7th, 2024. December is flying by. This November is gone. Where did November go? 2024. It just went by so quickly. And now it's December, and we are going to help you get your K1 visa approved, get your green card approved. But don't make any silly mistakes now. I'm seeing people making silly mistakes. Okay. And I don't give you any legal advice. I don't work for USCIS. I don't work for any company that charges you an arm and a leg to process a simple K1 visa or a simple green card. It's not hard to do. It's easy to do. But I'm not an immigration attorney. Like I said, I don't give you any legal advice or anything like that. But I do give you free advice where you can get this done with minimal stress and minimal cost. You should be able to do this just for the price of the application fee for the K1 visa or the green card. Uno Mikey, yo, what's going on? Uno Mikey is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. The Mountain Nomads, hello Diego and Karina, what's going on? So we got lots of good stuff going on. What are your questions? I know there was somebody today sent me a message in the YouTube channel. They said their green card application was denied. Well, I said, why was it denied? Well, we got an RFE for our joint sponsor, and we filed the RFE, the 484A. I'm assuming that the person's a household member, and their green card got denied. Well, I said, well, why did it? What happened? Well, we used an outdated form. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you get an RFE, make sure when you respond to the RFE, you use the correct edition of the form. If you file an outdated form on an RFE, there's a good chance it's going to get denied. Don't let that happen to you. Check the edition date. So now what's that person going to have to reset? That person's going to have to hope immigration will accept their reapplication for the green card using the correct form, the correct edition. Now, when you fill out, now let's suppose you need a joint sponsor, right? You need a joint sponsor for the green card. If you are a joint sponsor for the green card and you live across town somewhere, you're friends of the family, your family member, you whatever, you fill out Form 864. Now, if you are a joint sponsor who is a family member who lives under the same roof as you, let's suppose grandpa is your joint sponsor for the green card, then you're going to fill out USCIS Form 864A. Okay? There's a big difference. Joint sponsor, doesn't live with you, not a family member, lives across town, lives in another state, can be a green card holder or a U.S. citizen, doesn't matter, as long as their income is sufficient to cover the family size. You're going to fill out Form 864. If you are a family member, you need a joint sponsor who is a family member and they live in the same house as you, grandma, grandpa, whatever, then you're going to fill out Form 864A. Don't mess this up. Don't get confused, because somebody got confused and they sent in the wrong edition date and their green card was denied. When you get an RFE, make sure you respond correctly, because immigration is getting pretty strict, okay? If you get an RFE and you mess it up, immigration doesn't have time to be trying to babysit you, okay? So let me babysit you. You come on the channel and I will help you for free get this stuff done, okay? So that person, I don't even know if they watched the channel, because if they were watching the channel, they would understand the difference between the two forms on the 864. This isn't a difficult process. You just got to pay attention, okay? You got to pay attention. When you fill out the I-129F, the K1 visa application, make sure you don't mess up any of the passport information. Don't transpose any numbers. Don't put, if you don't know your wife's, not your wife, your beneficiary, you file a K1 visa, your beneficiary lives in Ecuador, and she doesn't know the name of her father or his date of birth or what his name is, what you're going to put unknown in those blocks. It's not going to be a detriment towards you. If you don't know, you don't know. So you're filling out the K-1 visa application. They ask the beneficiary, what's your beneficiary's dad's name? I don't know. What's his date of birth? I don't know. Where does he live? I don't know. Unknown, unknown, unknown. You got it? Don't be making up stuff. Christopher Reese, good evening, everyone. Being crazy here of late. Well, that's okay. If it's crazy, that means you're busy, right? And if you're busy, that means time is going by quicker, right? So hang in there, Christopher. You can do this. Chris and Emil, my wife's passport expires on February 20th. How long have you known this? We did request a social security number, trying to wait for the other stuff to get in the mail. Okay, Chris and Emil. But I'm confused. If your wife's passport expires February 20th, now she's in the United States and she's from the Philippines, my advice to you is for her to renew her Philippine passport at the Philippine consulate. You can't go back to the Philippines to do it. You got to do it at the Philippine consulate. There's one in Washington, I believe. Just find a Philippine consulate and get her passport renewed. Chris and Emil, it's on 90 days. They put it as 90 days. What do you mean they put it as 90 days? What did they put as 90 days? Your passport expires. I don't understand what you mean. They put it as 90 days. Who is they? Larry Piercy's in the house, standing by with Mogi and his pet puppy. Now, Larry's got this dog, okay? And that dog, I don't know where he goes, but I think he vacations with Larry sometimes. Who knows? I don't know. Otis. That's right. Otis. Chris and Emil, stamp it for 90 days, San Francisco Airport. That is the I-94. Okay? Your prometida, she got her I-94 stamped on her passport, which means she's got 90 days to marry you. Okay? Now, you also must get the printed copy from the Border Patrol website, because when you apply for the green card, they're not going to accept just the passport stamp in the They want to see the official I-94 printed off of the Border Patrol website. So you got to at least make 5 or 6 copies of that. Let me see. Francois Livingston, good evening, Diego and Karina. Francois in upstate New York. I know it's cold. It's getting cold. Hammond must be saying, well, man, this weather sucks. Can we move to Florida? That's my opinion, right? But no, Francois, you're doing good. You're going to get Hammond his green card. We're going to help you, okay? We're going to get you through this. Claire and Madsen Vlogs got an RFE for lack of income. My boss wrote what my income will add up to for 1 year, since I've only been with them for 3 months. It surpasses the minimum. USAS also thinks my children live with me because of child. So you need to get a joint sponsor. Get a joint sponsor. Claire and Madsen Vlogs. Get it done. Get a joint sponsor, okay? And get that taken care of. Lack of income. So, immigration is not accepting what your boss is saying, apparently. You've been with them for 3 months and it surpasses the minimum. But what about 2023 income? What about 2022 income? What they do is they take your 2022 income, your 2023 income, and your 2024 income, and they add it up and they divide it by 3 and they get an average. Okay? And what they don't do, can I do besides writing a letter saying they don't live with me? Do you claim them on your taxes? Do you claim your kids on your taxes? If they don't live with you and you don't claim them on your taxes, then they shouldn't be part of your household income. Then they're not part of your household income. You don't pay child support. Do you pay child support? You got to write a letter of explanation, okay? You got to write a letter of explanation and explain that you are a family of 2, okay? And if you need to find a joint sponsor. Let me see here. Larry Piercy, Otis every time goes with me taking him and Mogi to Disney World. You're going to Disney World December 26th. So you're going to go visit your relatives, Larry. You're going down to Disney World. You're going to go see your relatives. See, I'm afraid to go to the zoo. If I go to the zoo, I'm afraid they're going to keep me. All right? If Corinne and I go to the zoo, Corinne says, man, they might keep you here. You know, I'm kidding, Larry. Well, I hope you have a great time in Disney World. Mogi's going to have a great time. All right, good job. It's going to be freezing cold, and you're going to be in Disney World the day after Christmas. So there's going to be 1 million people lining up to ride the mission to space. It's going to take you 2 hours just to ride a ride. Claire and Vadson Vlogs, you got to write a letter, an affidavit saying that you are not responsible for the children. They're not on your tax return. And they're not part of your household. Claire and Vadson Vlogs, I cannot. No one will be willing to do it. So immigration, when they sent you the letter RFE, did they ask you for a joint sponsor? Or did they say you got to prove sufficient income? What did they ask you for in the RFE? A joint sponsor or prove sufficient income? Explain. You can also use your assets too, okay? Your bank, your checking account, your bank account, your house, your car. If you've got 2 cars, though, you cannot use a car if you only have 1 car. Let me see. Proof of sufficient income or second sponsor. You got to get a sponsor, or get pay stubs. Get your pay stubs and prove how much, and your bank statements showing how much money you make per month. Do you have that? Did you include that when you filed for the green card? Did you include pay stubs and bank statements highlighting your income being deposited into your account? And the letter from your boss, you got to get the letter from your boss redone, okay? And you got to do an affidavit saying that you are not responsible for your children. They're not part of your household. Francois Livingston, it's snowing today. Bruh, well, we know that. That's why we live in Florida. I look out the window and there's no snow. There's no snow here. Thank goodness. Hamid loves the snow, though. Diego and Karina. Well, we know Hamid loves the snow. He's going to enjoy a cold winter in upstate New York. It's going to be great. You're going to make a big snowman, and you're going to get a picture with Hamid with the snowman in your back garden, right? And you're going to put it in the green card application. So Claire and Manson, you cannot get a joint sponsor. No one will be willing to do it. Yes, you can find somebody. You can find somebody. Yes, you can. I guarantee you can find somebody. But you got to get your income sufficient. You got to prove it. You got to prove it. You got to have bank statements showing direct deposits. You got to have pay stubs. You got to have a letter from your boss saying this is how much you make per year. Proof of sufficient income or second sponsor. Yes, with everything it was enough, but I just started with the job. I hadn't gotten a paycheck from them yet, just proof of employment. There you go. That's the problem. You don't have any pay stubs. You don't have any bank statements with direct deposit. Immigration cannot ascertain your income other than the letter from your boss, which isn't good enough without the bank statements and the pay stubs. So your only option is a joint sponsor. That's the only option you have. That's it. That's all you have. You can find somebody, hey, help me out. I need you to help me out to get my green card approved. Okay, they're not going to be putting a ball and chain. They're not going to have a chain put around their ankle. You just got to get a joint sponsor, or else it's going to be a problem. Let me see. Larry Piercy, Diego, did your I-485 go to Lee Summit, Missouri? After it went to Chicago, yeah, it was for the IOE. That's what they do with IOEs. But first it went to Chicago. It's no big deal. Doesn't matter where it goes as long as it gets freaking processed. Chris and Emma, what do you mean by the stamp on the passport 90 days and follow up with the Border Patrol website? Okay, the Border Patrol officer stamped in your beneficiary's passport her I-94 for 90 days. It's a passport stamp, and he wrote 90 days. Corinne had the same thing. But if you go to the video I made, If you go into this channel and type in I-94, you will find the 5-minute, 2-minute video I made on how to get the I-94. You go into the Border Patrol website, you put your beneficiaries, you're going to need her passport, okay? They're going to ask for her name, her country of origin, her passport number, but the passport number they're going to ask as a document number, not a passport number. So don't get confused. They're going to ask you for the document number, but it's the passport number. Go to the Border Patrol website, Border Patrol website. Now listen, I'm typing. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just typing right here. I can't spell. Border Patrol website. Okay, and then I-94. Type in Border Patrol website. Go into Google. Type in Border Patrol website I-94. Boom, there's the page. Then you click on there and you make sure you got her passport in your hand. Okay. And then apply for the I-94. And you make sure you're at a computer with a printer because you want to print 5 or 6 copies. If you don't have a printer by your computer, go to the library where they have a printer. Go online at the library where they have a printer. Go to the Border Patrol website and print the I-94. 5 or 6 copies. And it's going to cost you probably 10 cents a copy at the library. They got to make their money, right? So it's going to cost you 60 cents. So what do I mean by this? The passport is not stamp is 90 days. That means the Border Patrol is giving you 90 days to get married, and they stamped it in your passport. But you need the I-94, and you got to include the I-94 with the green card application. Larry Piercy, Goofy is my relative and Mickey. Well, yeah. Oh, hello, how are you? Goofy. I don't know if I can do Disney characters. Francois Livingston running into a roadblock with his physical. No, don't run into a roadblock, Francois. You go around the roadblocks. You drive around them, keep going. Tuberculosis is a requirement for the green card, yes. But USCIS only accepts a blood test. That's correct. Only a PCP doctor can order that. And how do you do that when he is new in the USA? You get a doctor. You can go to a CVS pharmacy. You can go to any pharmacy. I'm sure they can do it. And then they can do the TB blood test. Krina had to have it. Did you in Colombia, TB? Krina got hers done in Bogota, Colombia. There's going to be a place in upstate New York where Hammett can get his blood test for his TB. There's a place there. There's going to be a place. There's no roadblock, Francois. You drive and you go around the roadblock and you find the place. You can do this. Any advice? Keep looking. After the live stream is over, I will see what I can find in upstate New York. Let me see if I can find somebody that can help you. Okay? But there's no roadblocks. Claire and Matson, proof of sufficient income or second sponsor. Yes, with everything, it was enough, but it just started with the job. I haven't gotten a paycheck from them yet. Got to have at least 3 paychecks. Just proof of employment. It's not good enough. You got to have a second person help you, a joint sponsor. It's not, you got no option. And you can find one. I know you can. I got confidence in you. You can do it. Chris and Emma, we have that paper I-94. You need more than one, Chris and Emma. You need 5 or 6. One isn't sufficient. You need 5 or 6 copies. Larry Piercy, Francois. Am ready to move, though. Yeah, Francois, look. When Hammett gets his 2-year green card, his probationary green card, get the hell out of New York State. New York is a great place to visit for a vacation. Okay? It's a great place to visit for a vacation. I love there. I'm going to take Corinna to New York City, and we're going to have a great vacation there one day. But I would never live there because your state is ran by a freaking bunch of commies. I'm serious. The governor of New York is just horrible. She's horrible. Okay, let's see. Jay Hughes. Please, Diego, can I apply my Form I-485 before my medical exam from Form I-693? No. When you apply for the green card with USCIS Form I-485, you will include the Form I-693 with your green card application. They go together. The 693, the 485, and the affidavit of support, they all go together in the green card application. So immigration can get it, and you don't get an RFE. Also, how many months does it take to get your medical exam results before you file the Form I-485? For Karina, it's 24 hours. It wasn't even that. Karina had her medical exam done by a civil surgeon in Pensacola, in Florida, and it was done in 2 hours. All of her vaccination records were already done in Colombia. Everything was up to date. So the doctor in Pensacola looked at her vaccination records and signed the 693, the vaccination paperwork, and then he gave her a physical for the green card, a couple of hours, and then that same day he signed the 693. There was nothing wrong with her. But that's in Florida. It all depends where you live. Josias Pazzelli from Argentina. Hi, Diego. I just got an RFE of just one thing. One thing. Josias, you got one thing wrong in your freaking green card application. Got an RFE, one thing. That means everything else for the adjustment of status is completely perfect. That's right. And well done, which makes me feel good, but I got an RFE for the affidavit of support. Here we go again. So the thing is, we tried everything in the adjustment of status to prove that to USCIS that my wife makes $45K this year. And we put every single piece of evidence in it, 11 months of bank statements, pay stubs, and employer letters. We made personal letters explaining the whole situation and everything, then they didn't care at all. I have until February 23rd to respond to the RFE. So my idea is, instead of getting a joint sponsor, we're going to file a 2024 tax return and send it as the answer that my wife makes $45,000 in 2024. Yeah, you can do that. And she is more than able to support me, so much more than the 125%. Absolutely. Do you think that is a good answer to the RFE? What is the deadline for the RFE? Let me see here. They're going to give you a deadline. You've got until when? How long did they give you? To February 22nd. Okay, so file your tax return in January. Get the W-2. You get your wife's W-2. File the freaking tax return showing the $45,000 a year income, and that will cover your proof of evidence of income. But you're going to have to include bank statements and pay stubs with the RFE. You got to prove all that. They're looking for 1 year's worth of income. Okay? But they also want to know how much you made in 2023 and 2022. Okay? You just have to write that in on the affidavit. You don't have to prove it. You just got to write it in there. But you got to prove how much she made in 2024. And if it's $45,000, that's more than enough to cover the income. That's a strong answer, yes, Josias. A 1040 tax return is strong evidence because the IRS took some money out of your wife's paycheck. So Uncle Bernie and Uncle Joe Biden and all those other freaking Democrats can take their vacations. Okay, they want to take their free vacations, and we're paying for them out of our tax money, and Republicans also. But if your wife makes $45,000 and you file a tax return and include that with the RFE, that plus the bank statements and all the other stuff I said, you should be okay. You'll be okay. Larry Piercy, my franny is Vietnam. Josias and also Diego, when I respond to the RFE, can I answer with FedEx or it has to be sent with USPS? With a RFE, what is the address that they're asking you to send it to? And I'll give you the answer. What does it say? What is the address? Is it a P.O. box or is it a street address? If it's a P.O. box, you got to use the USPS, United States Postal Service. If it's a street address, you can use FedEx or UPS or DHL. Kimberly reviews. Form I-485 submitted. Okay, Kimberly reviews. That's the first Mountain Dew salute. You submitted your green card application. So now you're going to wait. What's next? What happens next, Kimberly? What happens next? You're going to wait for the letter for your biometrics. Biometrics. You're going to get your fingerprints taken, your photo taken, and you're going to sign your full name. It takes 5 minutes. Get your biometrics done, and then the green card application kicks in, okay? Let me see here. Kimberly reviews. My husband also applied for a social security number, okay, at the local office. They said he'll get it in 3 weeks. No, he'll get it in about 10 days. Will he also need a work permit to work since he doesn't have a green card? Got to have a work permit to work. So if you want to put your husband to work before he gets his green card, you got to apply for the work permit. And it's not free. You got to pay for it. And you got to put that paperwork in with the green card application, including the money for the work permit. You cannot work with a social security number. A social security number doesn't give you a permission slip to work. It gives you a permission slip to get on a bank account, to get on a water bill, to get on an electric or whatever. But you cannot work with the social security number. You have to wait for the green card to come in and or the work permit. Osias and Diego, when I answer the RFE, do I have to send the whole I-64? Yes. Yes, you do. Or just with a letter explaining why we send the tax return. You gotta go by what they asked for. What did they ask for in the RFE? Did they ask you to refile the 864? Or did they ask you to prove income? What did they ask? You only give them what they asked for. Okay? Osias, listen to me. Did they ask for the 864 to be redone? Dear Mr. Beneficiary, we need you to redo your 864 and we need to see proof of income. Did they say that? Or did they say proof of income? In my opinion, Osias, you got to read the RFE and follow the directions of what they asking for you. What are they asking from you? Jay Hughes, please, Diego, do I and my fiance as the petitioner create a new bank account, or she add me to her bank account as a joint account? Jay Hughes, you become joint bank account holders, and she becomes a POD, payable on death. How do you become a joint bank account holder with your beneficiary who's from wherever? You got to get her a social security number. You get to America, okay? You print 5 or 6 copies of the I-94 off the Border Patrol website. You go to the Social Security office and you get an appointment for a Social Security card. You get a Social Security card. It's going to be written in all this verbiage is going to be written on it saying you cannot work without Homeland Security approval. Okay? You get the Social Security number, then you get on the bank as a joint bank account holder, and you also put her on as POD, payable on death. Larry Piercy, Diego, New York is New York and VN is Vietnam. Okay, well, I know that. Osias, they have 2 options for mail. The first RFE is a PO box. That's going to have to be USPS. And the second option is 850 Northwest Chipman Road. Basically, it says regular mail. So use UPS or FedEx or DHL and send it to 850 Northwest Chapman Road. Use FedEx, UPS, or DHL. Okay? Use the courier to that address. You got me? Don't use the postal service. I mean, the U.S. government runs the postal service. Okay? They're not for profit. They're like a charity. Think of them as a charity organization. And if they lose your freaking RFE, they go, oh, well, they won't care. But if you send it through FedEx, DHL, UPS, they're a profit company. They are a for-profit company. They're not going to lose your stuff. They're not going to lose your stuff. So send it with a courier service to the mailing address, not the PO box. Josias, I will copy and paste what it says so you can give me the directions. Okay. Based on the document submitted, we could not determine that the petitioning sponsor Form 864 affidavit of support is qualifying. In order to be qualified sponsor, the petitioning sponsor's 864 must be properly completed and signed. Okay, you got to redo the 864 and sign it. And the supporting documents must establish that the petitioning sponsor income meets 125% of the poverty guidelines, which is the tax return. So redo the 864. Okay. Make sure that your wife signs it and dates it as the person filling out the 864. Include her tax return for 2024. Here is proof of income. And what you need to do is put yourself on that tax return as a joint returnee, I guess you put it. You're going to file a joint tax return on that 1040. Your name and your wife's name will be on that tax return. You got married in 2024, right? You got married in 2024? Tell me you got married in 2024, Osiris. You got married in 2024, right? If you did, you can put your name on the tax return, the 1040, as a joint. I got married in 2024 in June. Okay, Osiris. So make sure you file a joint tax return with your wife. I write it down. File a joint tax return for 2024. There you go. With your wife. Your name and her name is going to, I will file a joint tax return. There you go, Osiris. Man, you guys from Argentina are just really, really super intelligent. You guys are way up there. High IQ. Let me see. Redo the 864, include the tax return, the 1040, and you're not going to be able to get the tax transcript, Osiris. You don't have enough time to get the tax transcript. So you write a little letter and you put it with the 1040 and say, I contacted the IRS and they said, there's not enough time they don't have the time. You need at least 2 months to get the tax transcript. And then that will cover you on the tax transcript. It's this easy. It's easy. You can do it, Osiris. And you're going to qualify off of the 2024 tax return. Larry Piercy, just noticed you and Karina were matching shirts. I got some little dude here on a racehorse. And Mogi says, hola, Karina.
Hello, Mogi.
Osiris, to support your or submit evidence of assets. Include assets. Checking account, bank account, 401k, house. What's the the value of the house minus the mortgage, etc., etc. J. Hughes, so I should print 5 copies of my I-94. You need 5 copies of your I-94, not to create the bank account. J. Hughes, you print 5 copies of the I-94, 1 to get the Social Security number, 1 for your wife or for you to carry around in your wallet, in your jeans shirt, 1 for the glove box of your car. If you get into a car accident or something happens, you run a stop sign. Okay, now as a beneficiary waiting for a green card, you better not be driving until you get your freaking green card. But if your sponsor gets a speeding ticket and the police officer pulls you over, he's going to want to see your identification. Well, you don't have your green card, but you got your passport, right? Well, here's my passport, Mr. Police Officer, and here's my I-94. I'm allowed to live in America while waiting for my green card. So you're going to get 5 copies of your I-94, 1 for the Social Security Administration, 1 for your glove box of your car, 1 for your shirt, for your pocket in your pants, for walking around in town with. 2 copies at home for backup, and a copy for your green card application. And Francois, look at that super chat from Francois in upstate New York. Mountain Dew salute to Francois. Thank you, Francois. We appreciate you. And I know the weather sucks up there in upstate New York, Francois. The weather's cold. Hamid's like, man, this weather sucks. So when he gets his green card in his hand, with your superior intellect and your qualifications and education, get the hell out of New York and get a job in Florida or Nevada or Texas, or Washington State even. But it rains a lot in Washington State. It rains every freaking day in Washington State. And then you don't have to pay income tax to the state of New York anymore. So if you're making money, you're making all this good money in the hospital, and you're giving a big chunk of it to the freaking government to Governor Hochul, the governor of New York, so she can go on vacation. And then you're giving a chunk of it to Uncle Biden, so he can take his vacations to Delaware. Get the hell out of New York. Another super chat from Francois. Thanks, eternal thanks for the support. Super channel. A super chat. Oh, you can't see. It's Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew don't pay me to advertise Mountain Dew. I just like Mountain Dew. And it keeps me from drying out my mouth. And then Francois keeps us in. I can go to Walmart and stock up. Although Larry Piercy helped us out with a bunch. Chris and Emil. Larry Piercy's drinking too much coffee. He's getting much hyper at the moment. Well, I got to get it. I'm going to start a coffee company for Karina. We're in the process of just doing the designs right now for the coffee packets. I'm working on that right now. Frank Valdez, what's up, Diego? What's up, taxes? They're always up. Well, not so much now, because I don't think taxes are going to go up now. Now Trump is the president-elect. Our taxes are going to go down. Let me see here, so I don't miss that question. Frank Valdez, I'm in the decision phase. No interview needed. Hey, Mountain Dew salute. They said December 9th is the latest to upload evidence. Okay, well, you're not uploading evidence unless you're in a spousal visa. Are you in a spousal visa, Frank? You're not in a spousal visa, right? You're on a K1 visa. So you're not going to upload anything if you're in a K1 visa. Josias, the thing is, Diego, in the RFE, all they talk about is getting a joint sponsor and sending the I-864 file by a joint sponsor. Okay, well, you didn't tell me that part. But I do know that if we need them, send them again with my wife, and tax returns should be enough. If you have a 2024 tax return filled out with you and your wife with over $45,000 in income, that is more than enough to qualify for the green card. Okay, the reason they're asking for a joint sponsor is because they don't. If you cannot prove income, if you can't prove your wife cannot prove her income for 2024, then you need a joint sponsor. If you can't prove it, immigration do not work off of, well, I made this much money. Okay, well, great. Well, where's your bank statements? Where are your pay stubs? Where is the evidence? Okay, this is all about evidence. You got to prove everything. But good job to Frank Valdez. Josias, the thing is, if you got to get a second, if you don't need a joint sponsor if the income is fine, but you got to prove it. The 2024 tax return will be sufficient, yes. Josias, I will answer to the RFE with a tax return and a W-2. Don't forget the W-2. That's got to be included. And let me see here. Bank statements, yes. For 12 months worth of bank statements and 6 months worth of pay stubs and an employer letter. That's good. Then you're good. The USCIS is basically telling me I need a joint sponsor in the RFE, but that doesn't mean I really need it, right? That's correct. Because I will have the 2024 tax return that proves $45,000 on it. You are 100% correct, Osias. Let me put it right here for you. Here we go. This is for Osias. Okay, you are 100% correct. You're good. Larry Piercy. C&E always hyper. Chris and Emil, right? Besides, Diego, I have a problem also because if I get my work permit, I have an opportunity to work like 25 minutes from my house. We'll get to work. Let me see here. From my house, but I have to drive and I don't have a license. Well, then you can't drive. You get an Uber. You buy a bicycle. Buy yourself a 10-speed bicycle. But don't drive. Because if something happens to you, okay, and it's your fault, you're going to be in an immigration turmoil. Okay? If you got a job and it's 25 minutes from your house, get up early and get a bicycle. Don't drive. I'm trying to cover you. I'm trying to protect you. My wife can't drive me because she works 9 hours. So if I get a work permit, can I get a U.S. license with a green card? Or some kind of permit to drive while waiting for my green card? You have an Argentinian driver's license, okay? You could probably drive on it in America, in your state where you are for probably 3 months at the most, and hope you don't get into a freaking accident. My advice to you is don't drive until you get your green card, okay? Francois Livingston, I appreciate you both, Diego. Josias Pasella, I don't want to miss that opportunity of working because I can't drive. Well, you're going to have to. Okay, Frank, you're in a K1 visa process, then you don't upload anything. There's nothing to upload. Kimberly reviews. My husband said he didn't receive the I-94 when he entered the U.S. using the K1 visa. They just stamped his passport and added a 3-month expiration date there. Well, let me explain something to you, Kimberly. Every single person who enters the United States who is a foreign national, whether it's a tourist, a K1, a K2, a work permit, a spousal visa, if you are not a U.S. citizen, you get issued an I-94 every time you enter and every time you leave. Every time you enter and every time you leave. So you got to go to the Border Patrol website and look for the I-94. If you don't include the I-94 in the green card application, you're going to get an RFE for the I-94. Go to the Border Patrol website and look for the I-94. It's in there. Check. You got to have the passport, okay? And they're going to ask for a document number. The document number is the passport number. They stamped his passport. Yeah, they stamped Karina's passport. But she still has Karina still has a 994. Jay Hughes, please text it to me how to get a joint account by printing the 5 copies of my I-94. Text it to you. Text you what? How to get a joint account. You print the I-94. You go to the Social Security office and get a Social Security number. When you get the Social Security number with the I-94 and the passport, then you go to the bank and get on a joint bank account. Josias, I was thinking about an Uber. Get an Uber, but don't you drive. Let me see. Will do. Kimberly reviews. There we go. There's an I-94 out there, Kimberly. Trust me. Brownie, yes. Customs and Border Patrol never give a physical I-94. You have to print one yourself. That's correct. Now, I'm going to have to log off for a minute because I have to go to the little boys' room. Okay. Now I can just leave the channel running, and Karina can sit here and smile pretty and talk to you in Spanish, or I can shut down the live stream and then I'll come back. But I got to go to the bathroom. So what do you want me to do? You want me to shut down the live stream and then restart it, or do you want to? Oh, you'll wait. I'll be 2 minutes. Karina, you are in control. I'm going to the bathroom. Here, wave pixie dust over everybody. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, boy. Hello, Kimberly. Ah, sí. Todo lo puedo hablar en español, todo.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm back. And let's see what we got. Jay Hughes. Okay. Brownie RSPS. Yes, the Customs and Border Patrol never give you a physical I-94. You have to print it. That's correct. You got to print it. But you want to print at least 5 or 6 copies. Okay. Osias, thank you, Diego, for your help. That's why I'm here. This December 20th, I have my biometrics. Okay. Can you make a list of essential things to take to the biometrics? Here's what you need for the biometrics. I'm going to write it right here. Osias. You need the appointment letter for the biometrics. You need your passport for the biometrics and the marriage certificate. Right? This is for the biometrics. The appointment letter, the passport, your Argentinian passport, and your marriage certificate. That's it. Kimberly, I'm back. Sorry about that. Brownie, get yourself a Mountain Dew. I got it right here. I'm good. Osias, Karina, puedes hablar en español. No te hangues drama.
Todo en español.
Karina speaks all Spanish right now. Jay Hughes, I get it now. Oh, okay, Jay Hughes, I'll give you a Mountain Dew salute because you learned something today. Good job. I'm here to teach you. I'm the professor of green cards and K1s. I got 10 years of experience doing this, guys. 10 freaking years. I can do this in my sleep. There's not one question that I can't answer, okay? And if I don't know the answer, I will find it for you. Kimberly reviews. Hola, Karina. Osias, Karina. We're back in English mode, Osias. Kimberly, how do you like Florida? ¿Te gusta Florida? Kimberly's favorita distrito is Florida. Senora vive in North Carolina. Okay, Kimberly lives in North Carolina. Karina likes Florida. The hurricanes, not so much, but she likes Florida. Osias, that was fast. Diego, well, yeah, I got to be quick. Number one, I was in the military. Remember, I was in the Navy for 20 years, right? I got to eat my meals in 2 minutes and use the restroom in less than 30 seconds. So I'm used to speed, okay? Larry Piercy, so Diego has to work till 7:30 now. Okay. Osias, do I need any USCIS letter besides the biometrics appointment? What did I just say? Osias, what did I just say you need for your biometrics? Let me write it again for you. Listen. You need the appointment letter. Okay? Carta di cita. Is that good? Circa? Okay, you need the appointment letter. You got to have your passport. And you got to prove you got married. Right? Certificate. And don't forget, this is very important, Osias. This is very important. Don't forget this. Gas for the car. Okay? And don't forget this. You need gas for the car. And don't forget this. Sandwiches for the trip. Right? And unless you want to stop off in a KFC and get you a Kentucky Fried Chicken box of chicken, which is going to cost you like what, $20 for a little tiny sparrow leg. Kimberly reviews. By the way, it's the head Diego, Larry Pierce. I'm not in the Navy anymore, Larry. Kimberly, It takes me 5 to 10 minutes to use the restroom. Yeah, that's okay. I'm so slow. My husband has called me a couple of times to check if I'm okay. Well, he's going to make sure you didn't fall in. He's going to come rescue you. Brownie RSPS. So my future wife with the I-485 will write her new marriage name on the form. Correct. Yes, that's correct. But you fill out listen, Brownie, you as the beneficiary are applying for your green card. You will fill out USCIS form I-485. Okay. Your wife's going to fill out USCIS form I-864, which is the affidavit of support. She's going to use, if she took your last name, she will use her married name to you in all of her paperwork. When she married you and she took your last name, she needs to go get her driver's license changed. She needs to apply for a new passport and get her passport in your name, excuse me. And when she fills out the 864, she's going to use your last name, but you're going to fill out the form I-485. And her name will be your last name on the I-485. Let me see here. So my future wife with the I-485, yes. Additionally, she's worried about changing her name on all of her accounts and insurance. Why? What's she worried about? What's the big deal? It's no big deal. I'm trying to get her through that part. Well, it's easy. She married you. She now has your last name. She's going to change her driver's license, her passport, her bank. She needs to go to the bank, her car insurance, everything. It's part of doing business. It's part of being married. Karina, she dropped her maiden name. Okay. Her passport is in her maiden name. All of her house in Venezuela is in her maiden name. But oh well, we're not going back to Venezuela to change it to my name. If I flew into Venezuela, Maduro put me in prison. That commie dictator loves to put Americans in jail. I hope Trump takes care of Mr. Maduro and puts him on a plane somewhere, like to Cuba, communist Cuba. I think Maduro would do well in communist Cuba. They got no water, they got no electricity, they got no medicine. So it's pretty much like Venezuela, right? It's horrible. Well, that's what happens under communism. So if you're a beneficiary coming to America to live, okay, I'm not telling you what to do. Okay, this is not a political channel, but pay attention to what Democrats do. Because right now, the Democrat Party is no different than the Communist Party of Venezuela, Cuba, China. They're about the same. So come to America, become a U.S. citizen, and then get registered to vote. But be careful what party you join. Just my opinion. Unless you like living under communism. But we don't in America. We don't like it. We don't like it. That's why Kamala Harris got defeated so soundly in the election on November 5th. Because we Americans don't like communism. They kicked her to the curb. They threw her a bone and said, go play in another sand pile. It doesn't work. We're a constitutional republic. Communism doesn't work here. We don't accept it. We don't like it. And we ain't going to put up with it. Brownie, tell your wife to relax, okay? You're trying to help her get through that part. It's not hard. It's easy to do. Josias, yeah, gas for the car is very important. Sandwiches to save money. There you go. When I drove Karina to New Orleans for her biometrics, the first thing I did the night before was fill up with gas and fill the tank up with gas. I did it the night before the trip to New Orleans. Why? So that way, when we get up early in the morning, I don't have to worry about it. And we're driving, and we got to Alabama, and we got to Mississippi, and then we got into Louisiana, and then when we got into New Orleans, I filled up with gas again. Then we stayed at the hotel. We stayed at the Holiday Inn with a full tank of gas, so I didn't have to worry about it coming back. I already had it, and we had sandwiches. But we ate a fantastic breakfast at the Holiday Inn in New Orleans. Now, the Holiday Inn doesn't pay me to say that, but it was a delicious breakfast. Desayuno es muy rico. ¿Tu recuerdas? It was awesome. Josias, how much do you think, Diego, the work permit it will take to get it? About 3 months. I sent the adjustment status November 5th. Should be able to have my, like by February or March. Let's say November. When was your biometrics? Josias, let's put some pixie dust all over Josias's work permit. When did you go for your biometrics? When did you go for your biometrics? Josias, I'll wait. When did you go for biometrics? In December. Okay, December 20th. So January, February. So by the end of March, beginning of April, you'll have your work permit. I say the first week of April, somewhere in there. Brownie, that's what I said. She's worried for no reason. Yeah, it's an easy thing to do. Okay? There's millions of women all over across America that have to that change their last name to their husband's last name. And they got to go to the bank and change their last name at the bank. You probably have to do it in person. They change their driver's license. They change their passport, etc., etc. It's like when you buy a new computer. You buy a brand new computer, you got to go in and upload everything. You know, you got to upload all the applications again. You got to go in and reload up all your WordPerfect forms. You got to redo everything. You got to put your antivirus on your computer. So when you buy a new computer, it's a real pain because you got to do a bunch of stuff to the computer. Same when you get married. You change your last name. You got a bunch of stuff you got to do. Just get it done. Just do it. Brownie, I do feel bad for all of these countries under dictators. I wish the best for the Venezuelan citizens. The Venezuelans voted for freedom. Okay, they voted for Senor Hermondo. He's the president of Venezuela. Maduro, the taxi driver, the dictator, he's just a freaking taxi driver that cannot add or subtract. He probably can't even spell, read, or write. Okay? But he's got the military behind him, and he pays them pretty good, I'm sure. So, but he's not the president of Venezuela. He's a dictator who thinks he's the president. Okay? But on January 20th, when Trump is sworn into office, this commie dictator in Venezuela, in my opinion, probably should be making plans to leave Venezuela and go live somewhere else. Because Trump don't put up with this crap. I'm telling you, he ain't going to put up. Trump loves the people from Venezuela. When Trump was president the first time around, he signed an executive order that protected Venezuelans from being deported who had escaped to Florida, Miami, or Texas, or wherever. They made it there because they didn't want to live under a communist dictator. And Trump signed an executive order and protected them. Said, okay, you made it to Miami. We're going to protect you. What did Biden do? He started deporting them. He's deporting the Venezuelans. Why? Because the Venezuelans supported Trump. But Trump got reelected. And Trump's going to protect the Venezuelans again. I promised Karina this. I promised her Trump will protect Venezuela and Venezuelans in Venezuela. Josias, perfecto. So all depends in the date of the biometrics. Right. As soon as immigration run the biometrics on you, they say you got no criminal record. That's when the green card process really kicked in. Okay? And your work permit also. So all you got to do now is just wait for your work permit, but you got to respond to this RFE, which is no big deal. You can prove the income with a 2024 tax return in January 2025. And immigration are giving you time to file your taxes in January because you don't have to submit the RFE till February what? 25th? So immigration is saying, okay, let's give Osiris a break. We'll give him time to file his taxes in 2024 for 2025. And Osiris, you got to make sure your name, okay, is on that tax return as a joint filer. Thanks, Diego. I will respond to the RFE after filing for taxes. Yeah, do it the next day. Sign the 1040, the tax return. Your wife signs the 1040 and dates it. You make 4 or 5 copies of your 1040 because you're going to need it for the 10-year green card, a copy. and then submit that with your RFE, with the bank statements, the pay stubs, and a letter from your wife's boss saying how much she makes. Josias, you got it? Okay, I will respond in January. There you go. Larry Piercy, except for the Venezuelan gangs. The reason there are Venezuelan gangs in the United States of America is because, number one, Maduro released them out of prison. Maduro released all of these criminals out of the prisons in Caracas, and Biden invited them into the United States at the southern border. And guess what? Then you got towns in Colorado and other places in America that are being overrun with Venezuelan gangs. Why? Because Maduro let them out of prison, and Biden let them in the United States, and the Border Patrol couldn't do anything. They had their hands tied. But January 20th, that is coming to an end. If you are in the United States of America illegally on January 21st, you will be found and you will be deported. Trust me, Trump does not mess around. You got to trust me. But let's talk about green cards. You're in the United States, you get your green card. Do you have to worry about Trump? No. Trump welcomes you. Welcome to America. If you become a U.S. citizen in the next 4 years and Trump is president, you'll get a letter from the President Trump welcoming you as a new citizen. President Trump wants you to come to America, but you got to do it the right way. You got to qualify. Good police record, no medical problems. You're not going to be a burden on America. Welcome to America. But the reason there's Venezuelan gangs, Larry, is because Maduro let them out of prison and helped get them to the border with Mexico. The president of Mexico, the Marxist president of Mexico, she has no border controls in her country. She lets anybody into Mexico now, and then Biden let him into the United States, and people are getting hurt. It's bad news. January 20th, it's going to end. Josias, make sure you file a joint tax return with your wife in January, but she's going to need her W-2 first. You got to get the W-2. Jacob Wisdom, good night, Diego and Karina. What's going on, Jacob? Jay Hughes, please, Diego. So my wife, as the petitioner, got to change her last name to my last name before we can file the I-485. It's easy. It's easy to do. You don't have to do it before you file the I-485. It may not be possible to get all the paperwork done with her name changed. She's going to have to change her driver's license to your last name. But it takes, how long does it take? You go to the DMV, you got your marriage certificate. She has her marriage certificate in her hand. Karina had her marriage certificate at the DMV. When she changed her name to my name, we had a proof, okay? And you get it. She gets a new driver's license. See, how much does it cost for a driver's license? What is it like? I don't know, $50. I don't know, wherever you live, it depends. If you live in California, it's probably $150. I'm just making that up, but I don't know. California is a freaking California is ran by a communist too. Man, I tell you. So Jay Hughes, hang in there. It's not, you don't have to, she doesn't have to change her name, okay, on all the legal documents, but she does fill out the 864 with her married name because she took your last name. On any documents for immigration, she's going to be using her married name with you. But does that mean she's going to be able to get all the other stuff done? And maybe not. Let me see. Josias, Diego, how much an RFE can delay the process? 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks. A couple of months. Francois, how long did it take you to learn Spanish? Because you speak it so well. Karina, I don't know how long. ¿Cuánto tiempo tú aprendes español?
¿Yo?
Sí, mi amor.
Ese es mi nacimiento.
Karina said, Francois, Karina has been speaking Spanish since she was just a little baby. But I've been speaking Spanish. I learned, me? How did I learn Spanish? I lived in Colombia for 2.5 years. And my landlord, and also a few other people who are in Colombia, they told me, Diego, when you are in Colombia, you speak Spanish. When you are back home in Florida, you speak English. I said, yes, sir. Because my landlord said to me, he says, if you got any questions for me, Diego, about anything, you're going to ask me the questions in Spanish because I won't respond in English. I said, can you speak English? He said, yeah, I speak English a little bit, but I'm not going to respond in English because you're in Colombia. If I'm on vacation, my landlord said, if I'm on vacation in Florida, I'll speak English. But while I'm in Colombia and while you are in Colombia, Diego, you're going to speak Spanish. I said, yes, sir. So guess what? I learned freaking Spanish. How did I learn Spanish? Well, Karina talks to me in Spanish all day, right? And I learned, it's like repetitive, okay? I watch TV in Colombia, and you know, everything's in Spanish. Karina said I'm very intelligent. I don't know about that. I just know that I learned Spanish because I lived in Colombia for 2.5 years. It was much easier for me to learn Spanish living in a Spanish country than living in Florida looking at a freaking book. Reading a book or writing down notes on little flashcards or playing on applications on my phone doesn't work. I learned Spanish by living in Colombia and interacting with Colombians on a daily basis where I had no freaking choice. I had no choice to learn but to learn. And I learned it. Right? ¿Tú aprendes español? She said I speak good. Okay. Well, she's going to say that. She's my wife, right? Jay Hughes, just have your wife fill out the paperwork for immigration with your name on it. Okay. Francois, how long did it take me to learn Spanish? I would say about 1.5 years. I would say 1.5 years on a daily constant use every single day. My landlord, Mr. Senor Fernando, he'd come up to our apartment. I mean, we rented the top floor. We had this beautiful top floor. And he'd throw the newspaper at me. He threw me the newspaper. He said, I've read the paper. Now you need to freaking read it. I'm like, well, I don't speak Spanish. And I said, no, yo no entiendo. Well, he said, you start reading Spanish. You read the newspaper every day and you will learn words. And then you'll put the words together. And Francois says, she's talking about me. Yeah, I done Spanish in 1.5 years, in about 1.5 years. Let me see. Josias, Diego is smart. He will learn pretty quickly. Well, yeah, I'm trying my best. Josias, you have a great teacher on Karina. Huh? Mi profesora. Who can teach you Spanish every single day. Todo día. That's correct. I teach my wife Spanish all the time. Well, that's good. Hopefully your wife doesn't mind. I love to learn Spanish. Okay? I love the language and I'm learning it. I lived in Italy for 6 years in the Navy. I was stationed in Italy for 6 years. I had to learn Italian. Can I remember it now? No. I don't remember a freaking thing in Italian. What do I remember in Italian? Buongiorno. No. Buongiorno. I can't remember. Buona fine. I can't remember my Italian, but I got to know my Spanish. I got to know what Karina's telling me. And Francois says, I'm talking about you, Diego. Yeah, I'll give Francois a Mountain Dew salute. Mountain Dew salute to Francois. I'm going to get this Spanish under wraps. I'll be fluent in another 2 years, maybe. If I took a Spanish class at a university, if I went to university and I took a 3 credit hour Spanish class, I would probably get a C or a B. I'm thinking. Josias, if you are in the United States, you speak English. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. If you're in Latin America, you speak Spanish. Yes, I did. I spoke Spanish. Learn the language so you know how important the country is to you. Colombia and Venezuela are very important to me. Without Colombia, I would never have been able to meet and date Karina. Without Venezuela, I wouldn't have been able to meet and date Karina because her mom and dad created Karina in Venezuela. And then Karina got out of Venezuela because it turned into a communist dictatorship. She got the hell out of Venezuela. She couldn't bring her mom with her. Most unfortunate. And Karina has been living in Colombia for 6 years. And we thank the government of Colombia for giving the Karina permission. Karina was a legal resident of Colombia. She had to have a medical, she had to have biometrics, she had to have a police check, she had to go to an interview, and she got a cedula, she got a green card to live in Colombia for 10 years. Why can't people do that when they come to America? If you want to live here, do it legally. Don't be sneaking across the freaking border. Trump ain't going to put up with it. Let me see. Destiny's Room. Hi, Diego and Karina. What's going on? My Moroccan husband got his work authorization approved. We celebrated big time. Well, we'll give you a Mountain Dew salute, Destiny's Room. We are happy for you and your husband. That's a big well done. Okay? So this pixie dust that Larry doesn't like, it worked pretty good, right? Larry Piercy, look at Destiny's Child. Yep. Jay Hughes, so we should go ahead and file the I-485 with the marriage certificate. Right. And the I-94 while she changes her last name on her passport, driver's license, etc. You will fill out, your wife will fill out USCIS Form 864 in her married name to you. All immigration documents will be in her married name to you. Okay? Immigration, understand, it takes time to change things like a passport and a driver's license, etc., etc. Jacob Wisdom, I want to know how long after USCIS sends you the receipt number for the adjustment of status, how long you get a date for biometrics. It's usually about 3 weeks. 3 semanas para ti, para tu biométrica. ¿Cuánto tiempo tú esperas para carta?
2 semanas.
She said 2 weeks. It takes about 2 weeks. The Mountain Nomads. What if you want to have a joint sponsor for the interview in home country for beneficiary? What form should we fill out? USCIS Form I-1. It's the 134, the Declaration of Financial Support. Destiny's Room, you're welcome. Thank you. It took us like 3 weeks to get the biometrics scheduled. Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. That's what Karina was saying. Once you get your biometrics done, then the green card and the work permit process kicks in. Because immigration is not going to do anything until they run a check on you, Mr. Beneficiary, Miss Beneficiary. Okay? The FBI looks at what, the FBI look at you. Basically, USCIS is basically Homeland Security on steroids. You got Homeland Security. You got the ATF. You got FBI. Okay? They look at you, Mr. Beneficiary. They look at your record. That's why it's very important. That's why the Americans of this country got so angry at Biden, because he let all these people flood into our country without checking who they were, what their police record was, or anything. And now we're getting all kinds of bad things happening to Americans. It's not just Venezuelans. It's other countries. It's not good. So you understand that you as a green card holder and a K-1 visa applicant and a K-2 visa applicant, you're coming to this country legally through the process. You're doing it the way Trump wants you to do it via congressional law. You got nothing to worry about. If you qualify for the benefit, you're going to be fine. Don't be scared once you get your green card that Trump's going to come find you and deport you. He's not going to do that. You did it the right way. And Jacob Wisdom, thanks. You're welcome, Jacob. Yeah, okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I've been talking for an hour, 15 minutes? And Destiny's Room, she says, I got to go now. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much again. Destiny's Room gets the last word. We give everybody pixie dust on your green card applications and your K-1 visas, although Larry Pierce, he doesn't like pixie dust. Brownie, RSPS, and Hosias, have a good night. We'll see you again very soon. Today, Saturday. We'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks for the super chats too, by the way. As Francois, everybody, thank you.